What are pot odds? Pot odds are the math behind smart poker decisions. Every time you face a bet, you're silently asking if that call makes sense in the long run. Pot odds give you the answer. They measure the relationship between the current size of the pot and the cost of a call. It's a simple ratio, but it drives every correct decision you'll ever make. So if there's $80 in the pot and your opponent bets 20, now there's a total of $100 on the table, and you must pay 20 to see the next card. You're risking 20 to win 100. That means your pot odds are 1 to 5. You're putting in 1 part for the chance to win 5 parts. If you prefer percentages, the math looks like this. Take your call amount and divide it by the total pot after you call. In this case, 20 divided by 100 equals 0.2, or 20%. That means you need at least a 20% chance of winning the hand for this call to break even. If your chance of winning is higher than that, you call. If it's lower, you fold. Simple, right? The trick is learning to estimate those chances on the fly. Pot odds turn poker from guessing into calculating. When you combine this with your reads and position, it's what makes professional players look psychic. They're not reading minds, they're reading numbers. When you start thinking about pot odds, you'll notice how often casual players make bad calls. They call because the pot is big or because they're curious, but curiosity costs chips, and poker rewards math, not hope. Comparing pot odds. Pot odds tell you the price you're paying. Drawing odds tell you the chance you'll hit your card. The magic happens when you compare them. If you're on the turn with 4 hearts in your hand, needing 1 more for a flush, you have 9 outs. That's 9 cards left in the deck that will complete your flush. On the turn, the quick way to estimate your chance of hitting the river is to multiply your outs by 2. 9 times 2 gives you roughly 18%. That's your drawing odds. Now go back to the earlier pot example. You had to call 20 into a pot of 100, which is 20%. Your draw gives you an 18% chance of winning. That's slightly worse than your pot odds, so the call is a little unprofitable in the long run. But if the pot was 120 instead, your call would only need to win about 17% of the time, and suddenly it becomes profitable. This is how good players make lightning-fast decisions. They compare what the pot is offering with what the deck is offering. If the reward is bigger than the risk, they call. If it's not, they fold without hesitation. And here's another way to think about it. Think of the pot as a store and the price of entry is your call. Your odds of winning are your product. If the product isn't worth the price, you don't buy it. If it's a bargain, you take it every time. Over thousands of hands, those small edges add up. That's how pros grind profit out of what looks like pure chaos. Implied odds. Pot odds tell you about this moment. Implied odds are about the next one. They measure how much extra money you might win later if you hit your draw. Let's say there's $100 in the pot and your opponent bets 20. You're on an open-ended straight draw, so your current odds don't justify a call. But if you know your opponent, he loves to play off big hands. If you hit your straight, there's a good chance he'll call another 50 or even 100 on the river. That expected future money is the implied odds. You're not just calculating what's in the pot now. You're also factoring in what you stand to win later. Implied odds make marginal calls profitable when you can reasonably expect to get paid off after you hit. The deeper the stacks, the more important implied odds become. When both you and your opponent have a lot of chips behind, the potential future reward grows. That's why speculative hands like suited connectors or small pairs become valuable in deep stacked games. You can afford to chase, knowing that when you hit, you can extract a big payday. But implied odds depend on your opponent. They mean nothing against a tight player who folds easily. You only get those extra chips if someone's willing to pay them. If you're chasing against a short-stacked player or a calling station with no chips left to give, implied odds don't exist. So when you think about implied odds, don't just ask how much you can win, but who you are up against. The best opportunities come from players who can't let go of second-best hands. They're your ATMs, just waiting for the right withdrawal. Reverse implied odds. If implied odds are the dream, reverse implied odds are the nightmare. This is when you hit your hand but lose big anyway. Here, you're drawing to a small flush, holding the 6 and 7 of hearts. The board comes with 2 hearts and you're hoping for another. The river brings that beautiful heart you were praying for. You celebrate inside until your opponent turns over the ace and queen of hearts. You made your flush, but he made a bigger one. That's reverse implied odds in action. You hit, but it costs you instead of paying you. The same thing happens when you make a straight on a paired board, and someone fills up with a full house. The worst part is that these are the hands that feel safest. You think you've won, so you commit even more chips, and that's where the damage happens. The lesson is to avoid chasing draws that lead to second-best hands in big pots. When the board is paired, or when higher flushes are possible, tread carefully. Not every draw is worth chasing. Reverse implied odds punish players who get emotionally attached to hands. Poker doesn't care how long you've been waiting for that straight or flush. The math doesn't change. If your draw might make you a hand that's good but not great, be cautious. It's better to fold and wait for a cleaner spot than to win the wrong way and lose everything. Fold equity. Now let's flip the script. What if you could win even when you don't hit your hand? That's where fold equity comes in. Fold equity is the extra value you gain when your opponent folds to your bet. It's the invisible part of poker profit that doesn't rely on cards. It relies on pressure. Say there's $100 in the pot and you bet $50. If your opponent folds 40% of the time, that's $40 of expected value right there. Even if you lose the hand 60% of the time, that $40 fold chance keeps your play profitable. That's how semi-bluffs work. You bet with a draw that could win later, but might also make your opponent fold now. You're giving yourself two ways to win, by making them fold or by hitting your card. Fold equity turns poker from a game of cards into a game of courage and logic. It's why aggressive players dominate. They don't wait for perfect hands. They create situations where opponents surrender. Every time you bet, you're asking your opponent to make a decision. The more often they make the wrong one, the more chips flow your way. The key is understanding when you actually have fold equity. Against a player who never folds, bluffing is pointless. Against tight players who fear big bets, it's gold. Learn who respects bets and who doesn't. Use that information to build fold equity when the math and psychology align. Common draws. When you're calculating your drawing odds, you don't need a calculator. Just remember these numbers. They'll stay with you forever. If you have an open-ended straight draw, you've got 8 outs. That's about a 31% chance of being hit by the river. If you have a flush draw, you've got 9 outs. That's around 35%. A gut shot straight draw gives you 4 outs, roughly 16.5%. 2 overcards, like holding ace-king when the board is 10 high, give you 6 outs, around 24%. If you've already got a set and are hoping to make a full house or quads, that's 7 outs, around 30%. You don't have to memorize every decimal, just remember the rough ranges. Flush draw equals 9 outs, straight draw equals 8, gut shot equals 4. Multiply your outs by 4 on the flop to estimate your chance by the river, or by 2 on the turn. That's all you need. These quick estimates help you think like a pro, even under pressure. When you know your outs, you can instantly compare them with your pot odds. No panic, no guessing, just clear decisions backed by simple math. Common mistakes. Now that you understand how pot odds work, let's talk about where most players go wrong. The biggest mistake is calling just because the pot is big. It feels logical. The pot's large, so why fold? But a big pot doesn't make your odds better. If your chance of winning is lower than the price you're paying, you're still throwing money away, just in a larger bucket. The second mistake is ignoring position. Pot odds alone don't tell the whole story. Being in a position, acting after your opponent, gives you more information and control. You can extract more when you hit and lose less when you miss. A good position can make a borderline call profitable. A bad one can make a good call risky. Another trap is chasing weak draws with bad reverse implied odds. Players see a low straight or small flush draw and think any completion means victory. But as we've seen, hitting the wrong card can cost you more than folding ever would. And finally, many players stop thinking once they hit their draw. They celebrate too early, forgetting that poker doesn't end when your card comes. You must still read the board, your opponent's range, and the betting action. Sometimes you'll hit and still be second best. Poker isn't just about the math of the moment, it's about planning the entire hand. What happens now, what happens if you hit, and what happens if you miss? Pot odds tell you whether a call makes sense, but your reading and awareness tell you whether it's safe. Both matter. So in essence, pot odds are your immediate math, the numbers that tell you whether a call is justified. Implied odds look forward. They ask, if I hit, how much more can I win? Reverse implied odds look backwards. They warn that if you hit, you could actually lose more. Fold equity is your secret weapon, the reason you can profit even without the best hand. Mastering these 4 ideas changes the way you see poker. You stop reacting and start predicting. You realize that every bet, every call, every fold is a calculation. Why? It's because you're not playing cards anymore. You're playing the situation, the numbers, and most importantly, the person across from you. When those 3 align, the pot odds, your read, and your courage, you stop gambling and start strategizing. You stop hoping and start planning. That's when poker becomes more than luck. That's when you truly understand the game. Poker rewards the players who think, not the ones who pray. So when you next face a tough decision, take a breath, count your outs, check the math, and play smart. If you like this video, then subscribe to this channel for more exciting content.